Hello and welcome to Morningstar. After having experienced a huge rally in 2024, artificial intelligence stocks have been falling over the last weeks amid market turmoil and the DeepSeek disruption. Today, I'm joined by Josh Sambrook-Smith, Global Equity Investment Manager at GAM Investments. So, Josh, what is your take on the recent sell-off we've seen in the AI sector? Was it maybe a necessary correction? Is it now an investment opportunity?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things going on. So firstly, it was the DeepSeek news that really catalyzed the first round of selling. And that was really because this new model came out and it indicated that you could do training of large language models at significantly lower cost than the market had expected. And so that means that if you don't need to spend as much money training your model, then you probably don't need as much hardware to do the training. And therefore, the sector started to sell off. And so this was against the backdrop of very high valuations pretty much across the board for anything with AI exposure. So this was kind of the bad news the market was looking for, and the stock sold off as a result. I think the second point was just that there has been information that before this news was being treated kind of indifferently by the market is now being treated as a sell signal. So Microsoft talking about switching off data centers, Microsoft CEO out there talking about overbuild, and news that some of the GPU designers and ASIC design companies had reduced their orders at TSMC. That has contributed to the selling. And then I think the final point is just there is a lot of uncertainty in the market at the moment because of the tariff news coming out of the US. People really do not know what is going on, and markets hate uncertainty.
Right. And in light of this, what are the main innovations you expect from here on in the AI industry?
Yeah, I think the most interesting one at the moment is agentic AI, and that is where you have an AI that is autonomous. It can act on its own. It can make decisions. It can basically take a lot of work off your plate and do it for you. And so that uses a variety of technologies from the ChatGPT style large language models. It relies on machine learning, natural language processing, and all of which needs a lot of heavy hardware to do the job. But it combines all those technologies to act almost as your perfect virtual assistant. There are a lot of interesting potential applications for this stuff. It's very early at the moment. The most obvious ones are things like an assistant that will, book flights for you, that will negotiate bills for you, that can do your personal finances. But then it becomes hopefully a lot more advanced than that. And we can see these things creating videos, creating music, doing all of this autonomously. And then eventually, maybe one day, these technologies will be capable of doing really exciting things like discovering cures for diseases, developing new chemical compounds, designing completely novel materials. And we're already beginning to see evidence of that with Google and their AlphaFold model, which is already out there discovering new drugs, new chemical compounds that are being put to use in the real world.
Well, that's very interesting. We saw what happened when DeepSeek launched its much cheaper AI model, the R1. Do you think that artificial intelligence will be another battleground between the US and China? I mean, do you think Chinese tech companies could really undermine American AI giants?
Well, I think it already is a battleground, and I think everything that the Biden administration in the US was doing has indicated that. So the export controls that are making it harder for Chinese companies to buy the super advanced GPU chips that NVIDIA make, as well as the export controls that are making it extremely difficult for Chinese companies to buy the manufacturing hardware. So the EUV tools from ASML, to name but one company, that make it very hard for Chinese companies to make this stuff. So without access to the chips and without access to the tools that you need to make the chips, there is clearly there's clearly a conflict going on there. I think if you look more widely at the model space itself, so the DeepSeeks and the ChatGPTs of the world, there's going to continue to be a lot of innovation going on in the model there. Chinese companies are being forced to innovate in different ways because they don't have access to the hardware. And that's arguably what led to the creation of DeepSeek itself. So I think the two countries are going to take different routes, but ultimately they're going to keep innovating, and I think that's basically what will be happening for the next few years.
And finally, to be more concrete, can you name 3 companies, 3 AI stocks that you particularly like today, and briefly explain why?
Yeah, so my 3 would be Broadcom. So the ticker is AVGO. They are a custom chip designer, and the background to the thesis is really that there is exploding demand for customized accelerator chips. So number one, buyers want to get away from the NVIDIA tax. NVIDIA is very costly. They're the best devices in the market, but they cost a lot. Number two, the big buyers like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, etc., they want hardware that is specifically customized for their own applications. They have their own list of demands. They need to consume power as efficiently as possible. They want to give the best value services to their customers. And so they see opportunity there to design their own chips. Broadcom are the largest and most well-resourced custom chip designer in the world. They've got a long pedigree of designing custom chips. They've got a lot of experience on the leading edge, so 7 nanometer, 3, 2, etc. And they've got a long client list of the largest, most sophisticated buyers out there. So Google, ByteDance, Microsoft possibly, maybe even Apple, but there's a lot of very big companies that are going to Broadcom to get this stuff designed. So that's one. I think the second one would be ASM International. So that's a Dutch company. They are a specialist in something called atomic layer deposition. So that's this other machine which will deposit a very thin film of a metal or an oxide onto a wafer. And so, it might sound a little bit arcane and ridiculous, but the use cases for that technology are exploding. And the reason is because in order for AI to keep progressing, transistors, microchips need to get smaller and smaller, and the technology you need to do that becomes more and more sophisticated. And atomic layer deposition is essentially one of the only technologies available for specific types of advanced semiconductor manufacturing. And I think the third one would be Applied Materials. So they're an American company. They're the largest semiconductor equipment manufacturer in the world. They supply all the big foundries from Intel to TSMC and Samsung, but they have one of the broadest and one of the most sophisticated tool sets out there. So they do deposition, they do etch, they do cleaning, they do all sorts of the most important manufacturing process steps. And what we know over the next few years, the demand for this stuff is going to increase as more advanced foundry capacity is built. And so Applied Materials are one of the best positioned companies there. They also have very high return on capital, great business, and it will continue generating value for many years to come.
Josh, thank you so much for your time. For Morningstar, I'm Valerio Baselli. Thanks for watching.